Welcome from my slice of life, where I'm helping to bring more joy into yours. This is the My Slice of Life podcast. Hello guys, welcome once again. This is the My Slice of Life podcast. If you've been here before, I am delighted to have you back. You have no idea. And if you haven't been here before, if this is your first time here, where the hell have you been? Where have you... You're late. You're late. You should be punished. This is the last episode in season 1. Where have you been? Anyway, you're here now. That's all that matters. I have no jingle. I was actually talking to my son about that. I thought, we need to make up a jingle for this, but at the moment we don't have one. So you can always sing one in your head. That would be nice. Sing me a wee jingle. This is the podcast finale, end of season 1. And this season... first season, it hasn't really had a theme. I thought, well, I'm just going to, freewheel it. Try a bit of this, try a bit of that, see what happens, see what works, see what doesn't, and just get some ideas of how to do this podcasting thing, I've only done, this is episode 10. That's it, that's all I've done. So, like I say, if you have been the listener who is downloading every episode, thank you. God love you. I appreciate you. I really do. I really do appreciate that. So I thought today, if it's okay with you, can we just hang out for a wee while? Pull up a chair. Let's just chill. Just for one episode. Let's not have a specific topic. I was going to have maybe think like a little run through what we've done so far together. And, the topics that we've looked at. I have a little list here in front of me. In case as well, if this is the first time you've been here, this is what you've missed. The very first episode, if you cast your mind back, we were talking about challenging yourself, looking at challenges, and the old question, do you do challenges or don't you? And one of the reasons I wanted to, hit the ground running. Holy hell, episode 10 and I've lost the ability to speak. Hit the ground running with a big topic. I thought, why not? Because I thought, if I'm doing this podcast new, that was a hell of a challenge. And just before I started the podcast, I launched the blog, which, in case you are interested, and I really hope you are, if you pop along to myblog.wordpress.com, you'll get a lot more. There's a lot of the episodes now have got write-ups on the blog with a bit more in it, and there's other things too, so pop over there. And again, it's all to do with life and bringing the joy back into it, and I'm going to talk a wee bit about that later. So go to the blog and you'll get a lot more. So challenging ourselves, why we don't do it and how to overcome that's what we looked at. For the next episode, episode 2, we took a sharp turn to the left, and I thought I would hit you with 5 movies that you probably haven't seen, but you bloody well should. And if you haven't heard that episode, pop along and find it and listen to it, because there are some cracking movies I've mentioned in there, especially for you. You're welcome. I think if you haven't seen them, go through that list, work your way through it, and you can come back and thank me later. Then we jumped from movies to have a look at the back garden, and I was coming up with ideas of how to get more joy from your back garden. I see a lot of people just getting rid of their garden so they've got somewhere to park their car, or they start off with a back garden and they cover it in wood, and they have, oh Lord, what do you call that? Well, my mind has gone blank. It'll come back to me. So, they put wood all over it and make a raised platform. You know what I'm talking about. Oh, to hell. Anyway, and they get rid of the garden, so to speak. They just try to make it an outdoor room. I think these makeover shows are to blame. People just, they sit out there and there's nothing to look at when they get out there. And I think it takes folk a wee while to realise you can't just decking, that's it, haha, I told you I'd get there. You can't just cover the place in decking, stick down some nice chairs, which if you're in Scotland like I am, it's going to get ruined by the weather anyway. It might be 2 days you'll have the furniture out. And you sit down, what are you looking at? So that's why I put in 5 ideas in that episode of how to get more joy from your back garden. So moving on from the garden, the next episode we looked at, we've all got to do it, housework. But I thought, how can we get a bit more fun into this? Let's face it, housework is as dull as dishwater. It's the same thing day in, day out, day in, day out. You get the drift. It is, and you've got to find ways to make it more interesting and more appealing. And I know half of YouTube is about that, and probably there's hundreds of podcast shows specifically about homemaking, housework incorporated into that. So I did one episode saying, look, come on, we've all got to do it. Let's try and get some fun into it. That's what that one's about. So that's episode 4 if you want to skip along to that after this one. Don't you dare jump ahead. And you can find out how do you get more fun into your housework. Now in episode 5, I have to confess, was a bit of a selfish one. It's natural and safe remedies you can try at home. Now around episode 5, I think that's where I start. I was a little ill, a little off my scale, my usual scale of health, and so I was using some of the remedies then. So that's also in the blog. If you're looking for things that the whole family can use, and they work, and that's why I do use them. I have them on hand all the time, and I find them more effective. And there's things there that I use that, how can I put it? I've not had to use antibiotics for a couple of years now because I use these things. Can I say that? That's for me personally. I'm not saying it'll work for you. Okay, I'll put out the whole disclaimer. I'm not a doctor. I'm not claiming these are miracle cures, but they work for me. Does that is my arse looking covered from where you're sitting? Feels kind of covered where I'm sitting. Okay. Number 6, episode 6, let's get professional. I wanted to kind of touch on another big chewy topic, a real big one. And I went for stress, how to recognise it and how to deal with it. It's something that in one of my previous lives I used to work with people who had, this sort of thing to deal with, and that's why I did it. I thought, I've got a lot of information. I had to split it into 2 parts, so episode 6 and 7 do look at that, the stress. And I'm whistling again, holy hell, I need new teeth. So yeah, how to recognise stress, how to deal with it, and put in a breathing technique as well at the end of episode 7. So if that's something that, if you haven't heard the episodes, again, that's something that I think a lot of people would get something out of, especially the breathing technique. I've been using it a lot. I don't know if you've been keeping up to date with what's been going on. I got the car back. I had the car in for its MOT. I got it back. They had it nearly 2 weeks. I got it on Friday last week, and the bill was enormous. I've actually had to put some in the credit card, which I hate doing, but I've had to. So at least it's paid for and we have the car. I have been really kind of under the weather myself, and again I'm taking these remedies I was telling you about, so I am getting better. It's a slow process, but I'm getting there. But because I had no car and I wasn't feeling great, couldn't get up to the allotment. Well, I went up this week, and oh my god, I've mentioned the allotment a lot. I love gardening. I love the allotment. I love our gardens here. They're not big, but it's me. I do all of that. And the mess with the weeds, we've had a lot of rain, so the weeds have just gone mental. But so has some of the veg, so that's all good. So, I mean, all these kind of life things it's stressful. People get stressed every day, so I thought, okay, let's talk about it. And I do use that breathing technique a lot, especially this week. But yeah, that's how I deal with things. So, kind of related to one of the earlier episodes, in episode 8, I went over lessons I've learned from the garden this year so far. One, to give a bit of advice or information on techniques that I've tried. I did a lot of experiments this year, tried a lot of new things. Most of them didn't work, but you live and learn. But I also wanted it to be kind of a roundup of what's been going on in the allotment and how things were and all that sort of thing. But I do think there's a lot of information there that other gardeners can use. If you live in a wet climate, for example, don't use like the wood chip or leaves as a mulch like I did, because it's just an open buffet for snails and slugs, and they come and eat everything. So that's the kind of thing that I was just talking about on that one. Now, episode 9 last week, back to the kitchen, and I asked the question, is it time we stopped buying these? And I went through a list of things that normally we buy, just eat without thinking about it. Things like mayonnaise, breadsticks, dips, all these kind of things, cordials. And I did say, didn't I? Ooh, holding my feet to the fire. I did say I was going to make some of those things in the last week. I've made sourdough crackers. If I'm honest, that's all I got to. I have had quite a lot to deal with, as we all have. But yeah, so I did do the crackers. But I will be doing more, I promise. So that's a roundup of all the episodes and what we've talked about so far. And like I say, I've kind of been freewheeling it a wee bit, trying a bit of this and a bit of that. I did put out a question on YouTube, and I think in the last episode, if anybody had ideas for topics that they wanted me to cover, they could let me know. I have got a bit of a plan for season 2, and it comes with a theme, boys. Yes, it does. I have a theme organised, because I figured I wouldn't get any feedback yet. The channel's too small, podcast is too small, blog is too small, so I've done it myself. But that will be season 2. I'm going to take 1 week off, and then when I come back, season 2, I'm not going to tell you what the topic is. You will need to come back. If you follow this so you don't miss when I come back, I usually put my episodes out on a Monday, so I'm going to keep to that, and you'll know when they're coming out so you don't miss out. If you are new to this blog, you might kind of be thinking, what is this all about? Because I don't fit specifically into a homemaking niche or an education niche or a health niche. What I'm really trying to do is just bring an awareness to the fact that I think today there is just so much bad news that we all hear about. We encounter people every day we would rather not. I think people are very stressed day to day. And really, the bottom line of this podcast, I really just want to bring a little bit of joy back into people's lives, and that's it. And I just want to use different topics to try and do that. And I think sometimes it can be hard to find the joy in day-to-day life, and it takes effort to look for it. And I want this podcast just to be a reminder to say, come on, not everything's crap. There are things there that maybe you've forgotten or you haven't looked for before. Not everything's bad. We can bring the joy back into our kitchens. We can bring the joy back into our gardens. We can learn techniques to bring joy back into how we deal with things and how we live our lives every day, and that's what I'm aiming for. So I hope that comes across. Like I say, the podcast is new and developing. I'm probably not really in my style yet. It's coming. Slowly, very, very slowly. But I welcome feedback, nice, constructive feedback. If you think it's totally crap, just, fair enough, but I don't need to hear it. If you want to give me a bit of feedback, I'm more than happy to give you a shout out on the podcast. If you've got ideas, questions, all that sort of stuff, I'm more than happy to, like I say, you bring up what you've said and discuss it over the podcast. That's not a problem. So any support I think that you can offer, whether it's going along to the YouTube channel, which if you're on YouTube you'll find it at My Slice channel. Like I say, the blog is at myslicemyblog.wordpress.com. And if you are absolutely insane, if you're just one of those crazy people and you think, I'm going to buy her a coffee, you know what I mean, she slogged her guts out for 10 weeks here trying to put a show on for me, I'm going to at least buy her a coffee. You can head along to patreon.com/myslice. And if you don't want to do that, fair enough, but let someone else know about the blog. Pass it on. I don't know if you heard that, but something is screaming outside my window. What the hell? It's not even Halloween yet. Holy moly, that was freaky. So yeah, if you can think of somebody or you know somebody, or just, mention it if you're on Facebook. I am not on Facebook, I'm not on Instagram, I'm not on Twitter. But if you are, it would be really nice if you would like to advertise it a little bit and just spread the word of the My Slice of Life podcast. I would really appreciate it. So really, that's all I wanted to do today, folks. I just wanted to have a wee chill out, a little review of where I am, what we've done so far, and just to say thanks very much for listening. If you've listened to this whole season, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate it. Even if you've just listened to 1 or 2 episodes, every download is greatly appreciated. I'm looking forward to having an actual season topic next time and really getting into that and bringing you some new ideas to bring the joy back into our lives. I'm determined we can do it. I know we can. And what's wrong with that? So many people are just miserable. So we can be the antidote, can't we? Let's be the antidote. Let's bring the joy back. So thank you very, very much for listening to this episode. I look forward to, like I say, coming back with a whole new stack of topics for you. But until then, you take care of your wee self. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the My Slice of Life podcast. Don't forget to look up the blog. It's at myslice.myblog.wordpress.com. Also the YouTube channel, which is at My Slice Channel. And if you would like to become a patron of the show, go to patreon.com/myslice. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.